Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited to have all of you here. Today is truly all about you. It's getting your questions answered. So several were submitted ahead of time, and that's great. I think we've done a good job of making sure answers are built in, and you're welcome to ask more questions. An easy way to do that is the chat box. There's also a question box, and I will watch those all the way through. You can indicate in the chat box you only want it to go to me so that not everybody sees it unless you're fine with others seeing it. Whatever works for you. Make sure during this time you're getting your questions answered. And then one other thing for all of you, because you're investing your time in exploring Center for Coaching certification and what we offer, oh, and excuse me, I think there was a glitch in my sharing, so I'm going to restart the PowerPoint on this. I apologize for that. At any rate, because you're here and investing your time in exploring the Center for Coaching certification and checking us out, we want to give you something back. So at the end of the conversation, we do have something for you. I'll let you know what that is when we get there. In the meantime, the agenda for the conversation. We're going to start out by defining coaching and the journey to becoming a coach. And this is where several of you had very important questions in terms of really understanding what is the process, what's required, etc. So we'll do a good job of explaining that and again, invite more questions. Then we will move into talking about coaching statistics and insights, giving a perspective on the profession and what's going on. We're going to walk you through the Center for Coaching Certification Staircase to Success coaching model. What it does is give you an analogy of how you actually build a coaching relationship. And then we'll also diagram just a very simple, basic process to coaching. And of course, it goes much beyond that. It's to give you a starting point and an idea of what it's going to look like. We'll move into the pros and cons of certification because as much as I want to say it's all pros, I get it. There are cons, so we'll explore that. We'll talk about the reasons people choose certification with the Center for Coaching certification. And of course, we want you to come with our school at the same time we get it. You're going to look at other options. And so we'll talk about what to look for in training at any organization you go to. We'll discuss opportunities for you as a coach, and we'll talk about the programs, walk you through exactly how they're laid out and what gets covered. So the starting point is the definition of coaching, and this comes from the International Coaching Federation. The word choice here is so powerful. Right at the very beginning, it says coaching is partnering. That word partnering is significant. Typically, when you think about hiring a professional, whether it's an attorney or a financial planner or a therapist or whatever it is, we see them as the experts, and they're hired for their expertise, and they provide that expertise to us. When we think about a coach holds the client as their own best expert. And what the coach is really providing is that coaching process. It goes on to say that it's a thought-provoking and creative process, which makes it fun, that inspires them to recognize and maximize their own personal and professional potential. And that is one of the big rewards of being a coach. You have the privilege of being on this journey that truly supports people achieving their best self, their best life. And that's fabulous. So as I mentioned, this does come from the International Coaching Federation, and there were a few questions. Okay, who are they? What's that all about? So the International Coaching Federation is essentially, well, first off, it's a nonprofit. It's made up of coaching professionals. It is essentially the gold standard in the coaching profession. We are a self-regulated profession, and it's through the International Coaching Federation. This is where the code of ethics comes for coaches. It is one of the reasons that increasingly people that engage a coach know to ask, hey, are you part of ICF? Because they want to know you're accountable to that code of ethics. Members are accountable to the code of ethics, as are credential holders. This is also where our standards come from, and those apply in multiple areas. So first off, the International Coaching Federation, and we refer to them as ICF, they accredit training programs. The single most important thing you want to look for in any training program is that it is accredited by ICF. And there are different types of accreditations. We'll talk about that. For membership, their standard is you have to have 60 hours of coach-specific training to join as a member. They also have standards for credentialing. We're going to take a deeper dive into those standards. So very specifically, we mentioned to become a member, you must have 60 hours of training. They offer 3 levels of credentialing, and this is where I think a lot of people have questions. So we'll talk about it. First off, to earn the ACC credential, you must have 60 hours of training. It is the same 60 hours that are required for membership. So yes, they all add together. It's cumulative. So 60 hours of training. They also require that you have 100 hours of experience coaching clients. And they have parameters around that. For example, 75 of the hours must be paid. They only accept hours that start after your coach training started, and who you can coach. So for example, if you're coaching a direct report, they don't count that as coaching because of the inherent conflict there. So parameters around those 100 hours. Then you have to have 10 hours of mentor coaching. It's actually a great experience because it's a deeper dive into your competencies as a coach, how they show up, how they get assessed, really understanding what they are and what they mean to you. During that mentor coaching, some programs provide, by the way, the mentor coaching, some require you to go get it somewhere else. We do provide it. It is part of the program, part of the package. Also part of that package is the assessing. So the assessing must be done by someone who is accredited by ICF. They've completed the assessor training, and you have to be assessed on you coaching a client. The way that's handled is you simply record one of your coaching sessions. You submit your recording along with the transcript of it, and then there's a very specific process for assessing it. Once you complete all of those components, you can apply to ICF for the credential. They'll verify everything, and then they'll invite you to take the exam. When you pass it, that's how you earn the ACC credential. The difference between ACC and PCC is the hours of training. You're looking at an additional 65 hours, the hours of coaching experience, an additional 400 hours. And during the mentor coaching, you have to be assessed on 2 different recordings of you coaching a client, and the exam is different. Now, for the MCC credential, please note, ICF requires that you earn the PCC first, and you have to hold it for 3 years before you can apply for the MCC. And that often brings up the question, does that mean you have to get the ACC before you can get the PCC? And the answer is no. The ACC and the PCC, you can do either one. You can go directly there. It is only at that MCC level. Now, what does that look like at the Center for Coaching Certification? So first off, what we do is we have different programs that build. The first program is actually the first 30 hours of the training for either credential that you could be looking at. We're going to focus on ACC and PCC here. So that first 30-hour program, the reason we break it out, and this is important. Number one, sometimes people say, look, can I do this a la carte? I can't do everything at once. I want to do it a la carte. Or we also have a lot of people that say, hey, I'm a leader in the workplace. I'm not going to go all the way to being credentialed. I do have to have coaching skills. And so that's a foundational program. It can be a way for people to tip their toe in the water, if you will. So that first 30-hour program gives you a certification. And that's something in terms of getting yourself started and out there. We actually recommend after you complete the first 30 hours to get started on coaching people. You will be ready. You'll have the process and the tools and techniques, etc. Then you continue for the membership. In addition to that first 30-hour program, we have a 35-hour program. So the certified professional coach and then the certified master coach, those 2 combined get you to the membership level. Building on that, to the ACC credential, we add the mentor coaching program that's required. And yes, we check all ICF's boxes. So you do have everything that's required to get you there. Now, as you progress at a more advanced level toward the PCC, there are two additional programs, the Certified Advanced Coach and the Coaching Experience, in addition to the programs for the ACC level. Now, something to share with you, there's an analogy. If you think about completing that first 30-hour program, that's much like saying, okay, I graduated from high school. And then you complete the next program and you become a member and you think that's much like saying, okay, I have an associate's degree. Earning the ACC credential is much like saying you have a degree, and earning the PCC credential is much like saying you have a master's degree or a doctorate degree. Another question that often comes up is, okay, what type of coaching? When you look at what ICF does, the credentials do not dictate the type of coaching you do. That's something you choose. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we support the full range of options. So some of the more common areas, people look at academic coaching, they look at business coaching, career coaching, life coaching, leadership coaching, communication coaching, wellness coaching. There are many different areas. And we do support those. Where you really start niching and specializing is when you're moving toward that PCC credential in that certified advanced coach. And we start having components that break out the different types of coaching. And we have an option for electives based on what you really want to be doing. And that comes with that advanced level. So hopefully that's clarifying the questions people had on ICF and their requirements and what it takes. To give it to you in a different way, here it is on a path. So the lower arrow is taking you to the ACC credential. The higher arrow is taking you to the PCC credential. The circles with the star are the different programs you complete. The circles with the check mark are some of the things you'll do independently. Now, having said that, for example, the coaching experience, yes, you have to do that independently. That's an ICF thing. The exam, while you take the exam independently, I will share with you, we definitely do exam prep during the mentor coaching. So we're going to prepare you for that. The circles with the dot in the middle, those are through the International Coaching Federation. So you specifically go to them to apply for membership or for a credential. They are the only ones that give those specific credentials. So that lays it out there. Now, of course, another question people have is how much time, how much money? Those are the big questions, right? In this illustration, what it shows you is two different things. First off, you have the option of an a la carte approach. I think I mentioned that earlier. So you can sign up for that first 30-hour program. What this shows you is how many hours and what it costs when you take it a la carte. It also indicates it's part of both the level 1 for the ACC credential and the level 2. You complete that program, and whether it's immediately following or a year or two later, you say, okay, now I'm ready for the next one. And you can come back and take the next program. It again gives you hours in the a la carte pricing. And then when you're ready, you can add the mentor coaching with fulfilling that requirement. And what that does for you is now you've done all 3 of the programs that are required for that level 1. Which means when you complete it, we can give you that level 1 certification, and that makes your application to ICF for a credential so much simpler and easier. When you decide to bundle them, and that's this column in yellow, if you bundle the 3 programs together, there is a cost savings specifically of $495 over doing them individually. Similarly, if you decide to go for the PCC, some people will get to the ACC credential and then they say, okay, now I'm going to come back and add the additional training hours. And it may be there's another component on the mentor coaching, depending on whether or not you had 2 recordings pass at the PCC level and your timeline, or you can bundle it all together. And this begs a question. People say, okay, Should I do a la carte? Should I do level one? Should I do level two? Here's the input for you. It depends on you. So for some of you, a la carte just that's what works in terms of planning the time, committing the finances to it, etc. Level one to the ACC credential level, the pro side of doing level one is it takes less time and there's less expense involved in earning a credential. The pro side to the PCC credential is more based on the type of coaching you're going to do. If you intend to coach executives, corporate leaders, senior people, very often there is an expectation that you have at least the PCC credential. Alternatively, if you're going to do life coaching, adoption coaching, ADHD parent coaching, wellness coaching, and even career coaching where it's private pay, oftentimes the ACC credential gets you there. So that brings up another option. A lot of people start with the ACC credential and then continue on to the PCC credential. And you can do that with this program as well. You can take the level one, get your ACC, and then come back and do the other programs a la carte. Or you can sign up for the level two. And along the way, when you complete everything for level one, you can actually go apply for your ACC credential and then continue in the program and complete everything for the PCC. The intention here is to give you options. And if you have questions, hey, I've got special circumstances or this, that, or the other thing, have a conversation with us. We're happy to explore, okay, what do you have? What are the requirements? How can it all work? And help you really design your own journey to becoming a coach. Hopefully this starts to answer some of those basic questions. And I'm watching the chat box. So far it looks like we're good. I'm going to keep going. We're going to start talking just general information about coaching. So as a profession, PricewaterhouseCoopers cited it as the world's second fastest growing sector, which is fascinating. IT is first, which is kind of a given, obvious thing. IT is growing super fast. That coaching is second is amazing. That's powerful. Forbes put out this quote. Do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. And that quote to me is backed up by one of the research studies in particular. It was at Amoco. British Petroleum now owns them. And they looked at coaching over a 10-year period of time. I love the longevity of that. And here's what they found. That compared to other Amoco managers, those that had a coach consistently demonstrated improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and 50% higher average salary increases. That is incredibly significant. Moreover, the participants themselves said, hey, this is because of the coaching. That's amazing. And it's a privilege, by the way, being a coach, working with somebody who's achieving those results. Now, next one. Dennison Consulting cites coaching as an organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. We definitely see that. In addition to having the coach training school, we also contract with organizations to provide coaches, and we place our graduates in those opportunities. And what we're seeing is organizations are using the coaching to work with their leaders and emerging leaders. There's a lot of that. Which brings up the question, what are the reasons companies hire coaches? So Harvard Business Review did this study, and here's what they found. 48% of the time, right in line with what we were just saying, it's to develop high potentials or facilitate a transition. Exactly what's going on. Now, this one is really fun to me. 26% of the time, it's to act as a sounding board. And people say, oh, that's interesting. Think about your senior leaders, your highest level executives. Sometimes people think, oh, coaching is all about, action plan, action stuff, that kind of thing. Well, senior executive isn't looking for someone to help them write action plans. They know how to do that all day long. What they gain from coaching is that sounding board, someone who is challenging their thinking, expanding their thinking, giving them the space to think out loud and to explore. And so that's powerful. Now, interestingly enough, as coaching has evolved, years ago, people thought, oh, well, coaching is because there's a problem. Not so much. Coaching is an investment. It's because the company wants you to be successful. At the same time, yes, 12% of the time it's to address the derailing behavior. Specifically, what's happening is the organization has somebody working there that's really good. They're great at their job, and something's getting in the way of their success. In support of them being successful in the organization, they will bring in a coach to work on whatever that derailing behavior is, whatever it is that's getting in the way. Something fascinating that came out of this study is that 76% of the time, personal issues get addressed. And sometimes people are surprised by it. My surprise is that the number's that low. I actually think it's higher. The reality is, when you go to work, whatever's going on in your personal life is part of who you are, whether it's health, financial, relationship, whatever it is, it does impact you. When you have the opportunity to address it, to speak to it, whatever it is, it means that, okay, I've got that handled, got my plan. Now I can truly focus while I'm at work and get things done. And so there is value in that happening in those coaching relationships. Okay. When individuals engage with the coach, individuals have a lot of different motivators. So sometimes it's really the very simple, basic, standard, establish and achieve goals. Sometimes it's a higher level. They're more aware. They want to increase self-awareness. They want to build their confidence. That's a big one. That comes up very commonly, and it makes sense because confidence is often what's in the way of people truly being successful. They want to improve their communication skills, enhance their emotional intelligence, have that healthy work-life schedule, advance their career is a big one. Leadership development is a big one. Problem-solving skills and decision-making skills. And then, of course, increasing resilience and adaptability. These are motivators. Now, sometimes individuals engage a coach privately, and sometimes it's through their organization. This is what motivates them. Fortune magazine said, and I know this is a very US-centric, we have people from all over the world. It's a good quote. They said it's attracting America's top CEOs because, put simply, business coaching works. And they go on to cite an average return on the cost of coaching of 600%. That's phenomenal. I don't know of anything else you can invest in and still get that 600% return on it. So exciting. I think one of the studies they looked at, and there were many, this one is very commonly cited. It was done by Metrics Global, and they said coaching produces a 529% return. And when you add in the financial benefit from employee retention in an organization, that ROI jumps to 788%. Phenomenal return for that investment. Now let's look at it in a totally different way. This is a bottom line look. Now we're going to look at it in terms of productivity. A common go-to is to do training. And when you do training, you increase productivity 22.4%. Great. That's really good. Check out the power of this. When you add coaching with that training, 4 times the impact on productivity, an 88% gain. This study was done by Public Personnel Management, and it really shows us, yeah, there's a lot of investment in training, and you can multiply your return on that by adding coaching afterwards. Another study that really brings us to light was done at Xerox, and they said, okay, so if you do training and you don't do coaching, 87% of the skills change you gain ends up being lost. So of course it makes sense to include the coaching there. Now, in terms of deciding who the coach is going to be, Harvard Business Review said top 2 reasons in choosing a coach are experience in a similar setting and a clear methodology. So sometimes people come to coach training and they say, okay, I want to be an executive coach. Are you going to teach me the executive side? I'm going to say, we're going to teach you coaching. The executive side is experience that you already have or don't have. And what somebody is looking for in hiring a coach is the experience. It doesn't have to be in the same profession or industry. What they're looking for is that similar setting. So it's a similar role, similar challenges, etc. They want to know that you understand their world and what they're dealing with. Now, the second thing that you're looking for, that clear methodology, yes, that's what you get out of coach training, is a clear methodology. You want to walk out the door of a training program knowing what to do and how to do it and having the tools and the resources to support you doing it effectively and successfully. That is one of the big differences in terms of coach training programs. Can you walk out the door and actually do it? That's where we want to get you. So specifically, to give you an example, we're going to compare building a coaching relationship to building a staircase. Here's how that works. Imagine you're going to build a staircase. Well, the first thing you're going to do is put in the framework for the steps. If you're going to build a coaching relationship, similarly, you've got to have that framework. What does it consist of? Well, think about any profession out there. It's pretty similar. First off, you got to have training specific to that profession. Now, sometimes people say, okay, I'm a psychologist or therapist, or I do this, that, or the other thing, and I have all this other experience. I have a master's degree or doctorate degree. Can I use that? Let me give an analogy for this. Imagine for a moment that you have a dentist, and just your dentist decides now they want to be a cardiologist. And they say, well, I'm already a doctor. I don't need to go back for more education. And you're going, okay, if you're going to operate on my heart, that's different than fixing my teeth. Yes, you got to have more experience. So it's specific to what the profession is. And coaching truly is different from those other professions. So training is specific to the coaching. During that training, of course, you're developing your competency. We'll have a look later. There are 8 core competencies for coaches based on the research. You also are learning the code of ethics for the profession. There are nuances in every profession. Coaching has that as well. It's important to know those differences. Once you have the foundation in place, you can start adding steps. The first step is agreement. It does happen in phases. So, for example, in the world of coaching, you may have an initial conversation with somebody on what coaching is and isn't. You may do an introductory session so they get a sense of how it works. And they say, okay, yes, I want to engage in coaching. Then you have the formal agreement phase. And once you get started with coaching, every session, you're working through what the client wants to gain from the session and what they want to talk about to gain that. So there's an agreement for every session as well. With that in place, you're ready for the next step. It is the coach's responsibility to understand the client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? What's their context? What are their experiences? And with that understanding of them, it supports understanding what they're focused on and how they want to move forward and how they even talk about how they want to move forward. That in turn supports developing rapport. Because when you take the time to build your foundation, your framework, you take the time for the agreement to truly understand the other person, you're earning their trust. And that opens up the rapport. Rapport is the number one indicator of success in a coaching relationship. It in turn supports that true open communication. The client knows, hey, this is a safe place. So the communication includes listening. And in coaching, it's a completely new level. You're going way beyond in terms of your listening. It includes the language, the words you use and how you say what you say, and the questions that are asked. Coaching questions are completely different than other types of questions. And really learning how to ask a powerful coaching question is a game changer. It in turn supports exploration. Exploring, what are the client's opportunities? What are their possibilities? What do they want? What are the potential barriers? What are their resources, etc.? And that in turn supports them developing their strategy for how they want to move forward toward that doorway called success, and success is defined by the client. So that gives you a sense of how you build the relationship. The next question people often ask is, okay, what does the process of doing coaching actually look like? So we're going to give you a very generic process. Please keep in mind, this is a very simple generic version, and there are many variations and variables, including flexing to your client. Excuse me. So in terms of the process, a common best practice is to have what we call an introductory session, 20, 30 minutes before you start coaching. It's a chance for the client to get to know you, you to get to know the client, them to have a sense of what coaching is like, how it works, how it's going to work interacting with you. That introductory session is so that you're both deciding, hey, is this a good fit? Is this a good match? Are we going to move forward? And when you both say, yes, let's move forward, then you move into the coaching relationship and engagement. Once you have that formal agreement in place, you have an intake process. An intake process, that opening session, goes back to how important it is for the coach to take the time to really get to know the client. It also serves the client in terms of their own exploration of what they want, what's really important to them. It in turn sets up a second step of that intake process where you're providing a tool to support the client so that they are truly focused on what they want, they stay engaged, they're motivated, it builds their confidence. Then, on an ongoing basis, during your coaching conversations, it is the client who is going to prioritize what it is they want to focus on and work on. They are the ones who would develop their strategies and their action plans. Yes, you take time to acknowledge progress and success along the way. And that process is ongoing throughout. Now, there are very many variables and additional components that get added in. That gives you a sense of the core process. The average coaching relationship, according to research, is going to last 12 months. Now, there are some engagements that are a few sessions. You'll have some that are a few months. You'll have some that are 6 months. You'll have some that are 5 years. It does vary. What's important to note is that coaching continues only as long as it's providing value to the client, that they are gaining from it. When the client is complete, and that can be because they achieved what they wanted to from the coaching, it can be because that's what the time and the budget allowed in terms of the coaching engagement, it can be because they gained everything they can in that engagement, whatever the reason. You want to be sure as you're wrapping up the relationship that you're supporting the client in terms of their long term. How will they maintain and build on the progress and success achieved through coaching? And then you have a closing session. And the closing session will include a recap of what was gained throughout the process, where they're going. And what's really important to note is, while we call it a closing session, part of it is letting the client know the door is open. Because when coaching serves them, they do often come back. Months later, years later, whatever it is for them, letting them know the door is open. All right, that's a generic process. As I said, so many different components get tailored to the client, the type of coaching you're doing. This gives you a general sense. So now let's move into certification itself. You're exploring it, you're wondering, hey, is this the thing for me? There are pros and there are cons, as much as I want to say it's all pros. So let's explore that. First off, 80% of coaches, and this according to ICF, agree that clients expect the coach to be certified or credentialed. And this number continues growing. It used to be people simply weren't aware, it didn't occur to them, and they have learned it's important to verify this. An increasing percentage have a certification or a credential. So in 2022, 85% said they had it, which is up from 69% in 2015, even up from 74% in 2019. So you can see the progression, 69%, 74%, now we're up to 85%. And given that it's 05, almost 06, that number has continued climbing. 85% of coaches hold certifications according to Entrepreneurs Headquarters. And 99% of the clients are satisfied with their coaching experience. That's significant. Let's really boil it down though. In terms of the con side, it's almost patently obvious. There are two major cons. It takes time and it takes money. This is true of any field you go into, any profession, any career, whatever it is. It takes time to learn what you have to know for it and to do it well. And it takes money. Those are the biggest barriers to coaching certification. If it weren't for the time and money, it's a no-brainer. It makes sense for everybody. On the pro side, definite career advancement opportunity. There is an expectation that leaders learn coaching skills. Professionals in a number of different fields, for example, HR professionals, talent development, project management and change management professionals, image consultants, people in all different spaces are finding that coaching skills help them advance their career because they're more effective, they get the results. Of course, it's also an opportunity for those who are interested in doing it part-time or full-time, or maybe an add-on to another business. For example, we see a lot of consultants and a lot of training companies, they want to add the coaching for obvious reasons. And so it's a huge opportunity there. In terms of statistics, you have so many choices. It's amazing. Think about it. For the ACC credential, there are 940 accredited programs. That's a lot of choices. How can you possibly research that many? Level 2 has 684. It can be absolutely overwhelming. So let's really dig into what are the reasons for choosing a school, and be intentional for yourself. I'll give you an example. What people tell us their reasons were for coming to the Center for Coaching Certification. They said, looking for credibility. Now, the first question that brings up is, how do you know if it's credible? So I'll give you some things you can watch for in a second. The next thing, they were really interested in the amount of tools that are provided. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we go above and beyond in providing tools and resources. And I'll give you a sense of that too. The ongoing support that's available. We have people calling and emailing months and years later. We're available. We'll schedule calls. We actually do a free Q&A call every month. So there are definitely options. There's a professional development component that people care about. So very specifically, in addition to being ICF-accredited, we are a CEU provider, which means professionals in all different fields can use the credit hours to renew other designations. So that's significant to people. Of course, the personal growth that goes out of it, and people mostly hear about that from friends or colleagues they know that went through the program. It's phenomenal. One of the resources that people get excited about, especially because it's coaching, are the assessment dashboards. And there are dozens of different assessments that you'll be able to use immediately. And people say, well, don't I have to get certified? The answer is no, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. It's actually discounted. There isn't a requirement. All of the resources are there for you to give assessments at wholesale, and all the resources are there to help you process through that with your clients. So that's pretty exciting. All right, wherever you go, a couple of core things to look for. So the number one thing to look for is these two logos. Level 1 if you're going to the ACC level, level 2 if you're going to the PCC. And if they have both, that means the school offers both. So that's the most important thing to look for. Above and beyond that, this one I think is actually a bit of a bragging point for us because I'm not aware of other coach training schools that have this. We are an accredited CEU provider. It means colleges and universities accept our credit hours. A lot of professional designations can use the credit hours. We've had financial planners, we've had attorneys, we've had mental health professionals, people from everybody, every field, every walk of life that say, hey, we want to have the CEUs, we want to renew our other designation, and we like coaching. So it's a bang for your buck. It gives you both. Okay. Participants in the program. I think that's a significant factor too, because the people that are in that class that you're involved with, you're having discussions, you're interacting, and everybody brings so much to the table. At the Center for Coaching Certification, there is a wealth of experience and expertise in the program. We have participants from the Association for Talent Development, the Society for Human Resource Management, the Human Resource Certification Institute, Financial Planners Association, National Small Business Administration, Association of Image Consultants International, the International Coaching Federation. I said that accreditation for CEUs because people get what that means to have that accreditation. We see mental health professionals, consultants, project managers. Ultimately, it's people who have a passion for empowering others. And that's significant. Now, in the program, one thing to consider, some programs are designed to develop the coaching competencies. Some are designed on a particular area of passion and maybe less comprehensive. So looking at that, at the Center for Coaching Certification, we start with the competencies and truly developing those, and then we add the additional pieces based on special areas of interest as you move in further. Much like when you go to college, you get your foundational courses that your first couple of years, and then you declare where you're going. Similar concept. So the competencies you want to be sure you're developing in your training. The first area is called foundation. It includes demonstrates ethical practice. So make sure there is time on ethics. You want that learning. It's so important. It's so important to know what to do and not to do in coaching compared to other professions. Then it goes into embodies a coaching mindset. There is a lot of common misunderstanding around coaching. And so really understanding the mindset, what it means, how it shows up is incredibly important. Co-creating the relationship competencies include establishes and maintains agreements. So we gave you a hint of that. Talking through that, having example agreements is incredibly important, plus practicing in the session agreements. Cultivating trust and safety speaks to that rapport, your number one indicator of success. Maintaining presence. That's such a fascinating one. It's so important. And think about it. How many times are you with somebody? It's so easy to get distracted or be thinking about other things. So you're having a conversation and you're thinking about an errand you got to run on the way home, or you're doing something over here and thinking about what the boss wants over there, or whatever it is. Truly staying present and in the moment with that person. And there are some very specific things you can do to support that. Communicating effectively includes listening actively, taking your listening to the next level. It's listening deeply, listening to understand within their context and intended meaning. It means listening to what they say and what they don't say, listening for energy shifts. There's so much more to it. And then evoking awareness. This is where your powerful questions make a difference. Asking questions that support them really expanding their thinking, considering different perspectives. And then facilitates client growth. This is where you're truly partnering with them as they recognize, okay, here's what I'm learning, here's how I'm applying it, and they develop their strategies and how they're moving forward. Okay. Who actually benefits from coaching certification? Leaders, trainers, educators, consultants, managers, human resource professionals, project managers, service providers, business owners, people from all walks of life benefit. It's funny. I often think, okay, I'm a better mother and grandmother because of learning coaching. I'm a better friend and family member. And of course, it makes a difference professionally because the skills you're developing apply in every situation. A couple of examples. So Gallup said 86% of employees think their bosses are uninspiring. What does that do for productivity? You can imagine. Probably one of the reasons you see the Harvard quote that coaching is a skill that good managers at all levels need to develop and deploy. It really makes a difference in the workplace. Now, on a personal level, the skill development, actually both personally and professionally, developing your communication skills, how you listen, your clear, direct language, and questioning. It develops your people skills, how to recognize different personal styles and know how to flex to different people. and goal setting. The way a goal is defined and it's planned absolutely makes a difference on someone following through with that. So it's important. These are huge wins. Now, in terms of business opportunities, let's break it down. On average, coaching, and I'm giving you US dollars, most of the time it translates in different countries in relationship to what the money there is worth, the currency compared to the US. If it isn't a clear translation to you, think about what people in that country pay for seeing a counselor or therapist. That's more the $100 range versus a consultant on the business side, which is more the $3,500 range and above in terms of the US dollar. So hopefully that helps you analyze it. The median for a coaching hour is 500 and the average is 244. So you can see there's a big range here. In terms of the projection, they're saying that by 2027, 125.1 billion US dollars will be going into coaching. As of December of this year, so this month, the International Coaching Federation has 59,646 member coaches. Of those, 29,115 have the ACC credential, 26,789 have the PCC credential. And look at the difference in the number. There are fewer than 3,000 of us at the MCC level. So truly most people are targeting the ACC and the PCC. There are simply certain circumstances where the MCC will make sense. It's just not as often. There's a new certification as well in team coaching, and there are now almost 1,000 with that, 979. So it gives you a sense of those numbers. In terms of coaching, yes, it can be an add-on service in a business. It can be a part-time business or an after career, if you will. It can be a full-time business. Now, the programs themselves, what do they look like? How do they work? So specifically, the first 30-hour segment, and this is true whether you're doing a la carte, level 1 or level 2, you start with the certified professional coach program. You have a series of classes. The first one is called About Coaching, talking about what coaching is and is not, getting clarity, that paradigm of it. It also moves into looking at the competencies and what those are. Then there's a class on ethics. I'm a bit of an ethics nerd or geek, if you will. I love ethics. I think it's a lot of fun. In that class, we're going to talk about different situations, what to do, what not to do, etc., as well as give you a solid foundation in coaching ethics because there are differences. Then you have understanding your client. This is fun. This is understanding different personal styles. So first off, what can you notice and be aware of? And based on that, how can you adjust to the person you're working with? It's just a fabulous tool for interacting with different people and knowing how to flex to them. The communication class has got some amazing content, specific techniques on how you listen. Then it moves into language and examples. There's words that work and there's words that shut people down. And we talk about questions and give you the formula for creating powerful coaching questions. In focus and motivation, we are going to add another dimension in terms of understanding your client, because we're going to look at understanding how they learn, how they process, how they communicate, and how to work with that effectively in a way that serves them. Then we look at language patterns and we look at thought patterns and how working with those can truly support your client moving to the next level. There will be assignments with each of these classes. So additional research in the case of the first couple classes, practice assignments in the next 3 classes, where you're literally taking what's discussed in class and you're using those techniques just in your day-to-day conversations and then writing about what the impact was, how it was different. There is a group session. It's a little bit different every class. This is where you get to ask whatever questions you have. You can do a sneak peek at resources. There's all different kinds of things that can happen in that group session. The coaching practicum. This is an essential part of training. I don't care where you go. You want to have lots of opportunity for this. So in the coaching practicum, You will have a client, another colleague in the program that you'll be coaching. Somebody will be coaching you. It's essential you have the experience of being coached. And then you get the chance to observe and really sit back and watch both sides of it. That practicum is amazing in terms of the learning. It gives you process as well as experiencing how to go move forward. Then there's your case study. It serves as your final, and we walk through it step by step. It's, to me, a great review of the program. When you complete these things, you've completed this program. Now, afterwards, you'll, number one, take advantage of the Q&A call because you still have questions or you want to go back and review something, whatever it is. And we give you recordings on the business of coaching and on marketing yourself as a coach, as well as a number of additional resource tools. That is valuable for those who are going to do this as a business, because when you complete the coach training, that business side of it, that's a different animal. And it's really important that you have support in that area. So we make sure it's there for you. And then we also give you recorded coaching sessions. People like to go back and listen to more. The Certified Master Coach program, the classes include group and team coaching. We're adding that in the program. You'll see it in the practicum. Ethics and agreements is a deeper dive on things not to do as well as what to do. Coaching process, same concepts. What don't you want to do? What do you want to do? People in communication, and then creating change with confidence. What people tell us in this class is it takes their training to the next level. It goes deeper. It helps things click into place, further develop your understanding and awareness of how it's all working. Then we do a class on time and money. Just as time and money are really the key factors in deciding whether or not to do coach training, they play into many things clients are doing, almost everything, in terms of choices they have, decisions they make, etc. Those are a couple of influencing factors. We also highlight there are many more influencing factors for people. There are pre-work and report assignments with this. So for those of you who are familiar with adult learning, there is huge value in reflecting on a few things before you do the class and then reflecting again afterwards. So your homework is basically split in half before and half after. The coaching practicum itself, first off, we're going to do group coaching. So what that means is everybody in the program will have a chance to be a group coach. And for the other groups, you will participate as one of the clients in the group. And then we have the individual coaching. Now, the process, the format is going to be different. You saw an example of what it was in the first program. In this class, it's different. That's intentional. Every program has a different approach to the practicum, so you learn different options and different approaches. We do a final debrief after the coaching, and there's a final report. Then the certified advanced coach. For those of you going to level 2, this is where you start specializing and niching. So the classes start with one looking at competencies and strengths. And this is where you start identifying, because one of the strengths areas is going to be based on your knowledge, your expertise, and you're really looking at what it is and how that serves you and your client in your coaching engagement. It's a way to start separating. So throughout this program, your lens is changing into what your particular type of coaching is going to be. Engaging and understanding your clients is different for someone who is doing wellness coaching compared to executive coaching, compared to business coaching, etc. So knowing some of those nuances, looking at the coaching relationship. So while the core process is there, it applies differently if you're coaching children versus CEOs and everything in between. So knowing some of those nuances. Client priority management also varies based on the type of coaching. Setting the client up for their future. Again, this is tailored with the type of coaching you're doing. There is a class on challenges and trends for you as a coach. With this program, you have reading assignments you're doing ahead of class, and then homework after class will give you questions you're answering. The coaching practicum, again, has a different format. So the group coaching will be the same. You have a chance to be the group coach, to be part of the group. The individual coaching, the program format is going to be different and intentional because you want to experience different ways of doing it. There's a coaching debrief and a final report. The coaching experience class, which is one of the electives for the remaining training hours. And we do have additional options on electives. So if you want to know about that, let me know. We'll have a conversation and talk about that. In this class, we review the competencies and how they get evaluated. We talk about the competencies specifically in team coaching for people who are thinking about that credential or simply want to understand it better. We have the group coaching sessions, and then we have a different approach on the individual sessions and a debrief. The mentor coaching, phenomenal program the way it's set up. So first off, there's 5 90-minute group sessions. The first one has a bit of a, okay, what is this? How is this work? And then it starts moving into where you're talking about the competencies and the evaluation process. Then the next 3 groups are a true deep dive into how those competencies show up and understanding what they are, how they're assessed, what behaviors demonstrate those competencies is powerful. And it really takes your awareness to the next level. Then we also do a group that is including exam prep. So getting ready for ICF's exam, as well as knowing in terms of the recordings and what you have to do. You'll have 3 individual sessions. During those individual sessions, your number one priority is actually going to be your recordings. Once you have, for ACC 1 recording that passes, for PCC 2 recordings that pass, you're in good shape and you'll have some freedom in terms of what else you do in those individual sessions. There is a 360 available. It's a fabulous tool where you self-assess on your competencies and then your clients have questions that they answer. And it really helps highlight, okay, here I'm on track, here's some things I want to adjust, etc. So very powerful. And we can discuss, again, additional information on your journey, the process for credentialing, the exam, etc. In terms of resources that are included, this is true for all of the different programs, all of the different levels. First off, all of the class materials are included. Everything is provided to you. When you graduate, we have a login page for different programs, which gives you access to a whole bunch more in terms of materials and resources. We give you the assessment dashboard for giving assessments. People love using that. It really helps in your coaching. We also create opportunities. So specifically, you're invited to guest blog, to guest present, and we have a number of ways that shows up. To get published, we put out a book series with chapters written by graduates. To guest podcast, we have an online dashboard where people can look for a coach, and only our graduates are listed in that particular dashboard. And then we're a coaching provider, so other organization where we contract with companies and we provide coaches. They're graduates, which supports the quality control, it supports making matches, etc. And we provide coaches inside organizations. That becomes an opportunity for graduates of the program. In terms of what are the next steps for you at this point, I mentioned at the beginning, I had something for you at the end. Here you go, a free 30-minute session. You can use it for a mini coaching session if you want to experience that. You can use it to say, hey, I want to talk about my circumstances and what makes sense for me, or hear more on options for elective, whatever it is. When we finish this recording, I'll close it out. I'll put the recording on YouTube and I'll send an email to everybody saying, okay, here it is. When you get that email, just reply and say, hey, I want a free 30-minute session. I'll send you a link to my calendar. You can pick a time that works for you, and you've got that 30 minutes. Okay, and yes on that question. So I'm going to stay on afterwards for anybody who's interested to look at a couple things on the website. So yeah, I saw your question and we will go there. Thank you. All right, next, in terms of the application, filling out the application is free. It gets you on our radar, knowing you're interested. We are to follow up with you. The other thing it does for you is help you explore on paper. So we ask you to tell us about you so we can get to know you. And we ask you to tell us about your interest in coach training. Again, that's for you to explore on paper what this means to you. When you know which class you want, you reserve your place in that class by doing the application and paying for the registration on it. And again, there's different options on that. If you have questions there, ask me. Because sometimes people say, hey, is there a payment plan? Or, questions on a la carte versus the program as a whole, et cetera. So happy to answer those for you. I do want to say thank you to everybody here. Definitely appreciate your time, your participation, your interest in this. We have used our time, and as promised, I'm going to close out the PowerPoint and I'm going to open up the website so we can go look at a couple of things together. So let me take just a moment to stop the share on the PowerPoint, and I've got to get a screen up with our website on it so that I can share that with you and help you navigate a couple of things together. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Let's see. Oh, just a sec. It gave me one of those lovely ad blockers. Let me start that again on the screen share. Here we go. So we're sharing the website. We're going to navigate to a couple of things together. So first off, one of the things a lot of people really want to go see on the website, there's a green button on the image here. It says how to become a coach. So I'm going to click on that. And when you go to this page, you will see, number one, a full written explanation, and number two, the infographics we shared earlier in this presentation that give you the requirements. This is helpful to simply revisit it and be clear on what's required by ICF, the International Coaching Federation, at each level. It goes into showing you the journey toward the ACC or the PCC credential, and the table is here with all of those costs for a la carte programs across the rows, and level 1 and level 2 cohorts in the columns. So that's all available to you. Another thing that a lot of people are interested in on the coach training. So for level 1 and level 2, there's an overview of the level 1, and then there's class schedules. There's an overview of level 2 and class schedules. And then there's an overview of a la carte. It's essentially the same information. It's listing the different programs. What's nice about this particular page is you can easily tab through each program to see the agenda in terms of what's covered, the practicum, and then also the learning outcomes. And you simply click on the tab and you can move through and see that information for every class. To give you another example, if you're interested, for example, in the level 1, you want to say, okay, I want to know what the schedule options are. You can click on the schedule options and it'll bring you here and show you all the choices. This gives you a start and end date. It gives you the days of the week that the class meets at and the start time of classes. So for example, for those of you who are looking for a Christmas gift for yourself, hey, we got funding I got to spend this year, or whatever it is, there is a class starting January 6th. You can click on that and then click for the complete schedule. It gives you the dates and the times, start to finish, of every class that is live with the cohort. Then from there, you can have any conversation you got to have in terms of additional options. You can find out more about the assessment that is available to you. We have monthly webinars here. If you want to check out testimonials, there's lots here. We're happy to have you take your time, explore, navigate. And of course, let me know if you want to have a conversation and do a deeper dive into either experiencing coaching or your circumstances, especially to move toward a credential. Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate your time and your interest. I look forward to connecting with you afterwards and staying in touch, welcoming you to the community. So please make it a great one, everyone.